awarded top salesperson for 3 consecutive years. She's also a member of the President's Circle. Yes, girl is a very ambitious, and we love to see that. She has been a part of many projects. Her last major project would have been partnering with Food for the Poor to raise funds to build a home. And personally, she likes to mentor young women, just to help them along their journey of self-actualization. And if you ask her friends, she's a lover of nature and she has a zeal for life. So from that we know that Diane is a very well-rounded individual. She does not come to us from one perspective. She comes to us from all perspectives. Being the top of her field, to volunteering, to encouraging young women. We just love to see that. We love to see when women glow and grow. Welcome, Miss Diane. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me, Donette. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm so happy to be here to share with you and the church family. So I'm looking forward to an interactive session.
That's right. That's right. All right.
So,
We do have persons viewing from YouTube, and we also have a few persons on the platform. We're looking forward to a well engaged session. So peeps, send up your questions in YouTube, send your messages in the chat here. Miss Campbell she wants responses, she wants engagement, she wants at the end of this session, she know that you impart some knowledge, you know that you put some people on this path to home ownership, right?
that's right.
Awesome. So over to you, Diane.
All right. Good afternoon again, everyone. I'm just trying to, I think I got kicked off from my laptop, so I'm going to try and join. I got kicked off just a while ago. I wanted to share my screen with you, but if that fails, I'll just have to proceed. So, okay, that's not working. All right, so I'll just use my phone. I really wanted to show my slides though. Let me just do this quickly. How is everyone doing this afternoon? Don't
Doing
all answer at the
awesome.
same time.
Doing awesome.
Okay, good, good. Anyone else?
Diane, is it possible for me to send the link to your email? Would that be easier with the laptop situation?
I mean, I was just on using my laptop. I'm not sure how I got kicked off. So I'm back on. It says connecting.
Awesome, awesome.
All right, I just need to share my screen. Join with audio. Here we go. Oh dear. Keeps kicking me out. Okay. All right, so if this fails, I just have to proceed. One, three. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and proceed. Anyone can share with me what they think debt is? Anyone? So we have Andriana, Ebony, Nelida, iPhone, and Nikolai, and some other persons. Anyone can share with me what you think debt is? DEBT.
Money that you owe.
Pardon?
Money that you take out and you owe someone.
Okay.
Um,
Your name comes up as Mambi Park. What's your name? What's your Christian name?
I'm Stephen Hall.
Stephen. I'm just writing that down. Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else?
Money that, as what you said, money that you owe, and owing the money, if you want to borrow money to do something, it might cause a problem because they might look at it as you might not be somebody that would pay back because you're in debt.
Okay. All right. We'll unpack that shortly. All right. So while there are no incorrect answers, all right, got it. This one.
I see from the chat, Carvel said debt is when you have people money. And yeah, Andriana said owing as well. Unmute. Not hearing you.
All right. Is that better?
Much.
All right. Thank you so much. So just a little background about VM before we get into the chat. Who are we and why we exist? Anyone knows about Victoria Mutual? VMBS? We've recently rebranded, so the name is now VM Building Society.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the People's Bank.
Pardon?
Oh, I was
Stephen?
going to say, for me, back in the days, VM, I used to think of VM as an old bank, not offer like NCB or Scotia, but recently with the rebranding, I see them out more. So, VM, I come up the ranks, yeah.
Agreed. So VM is 145 years old. We are not a commercial bank, but we are a mutual. And what that means is that we pride ourselves in giving back to our members. Our profits do not go to shareholders per se. You have a small group of persons who control the organization. But our profit goes back to the members who are the actual owners of the society. And you will benefit from this in reduced fees and discounts or low or no fees in your transactions. Those are some of the ways you benefit as a member. So once you have an account with the society, you are a part owner of the society. And our mission is simply to empower persons to become financially well on their journey, right? Some of the services we offer include savings and mortgages. That's offered through VMBS, which is a building society. Real estate services is also offered through VM Property Services. And they also do property management, valuation reports, etc. VM Wealth Management offers investment services if you wish to purchase stocks and bonds, if you wish to purchase unit trusts, that sort of thing. And we offer other creative lending solutions. We do pension fund management. So if there's someone who is self-employed, who does not have a formal retirement plan, we offer that service as well. There's also money transfer, and we are a part owner in BCIC, where we offer insurance. And the Canopy is also an affiliate of VM, and they do health insurance and life insurance. So what is debt? Stephen says it's money that you borrow that you have to repay. And there's someone else, was it Andriana, who shared what debt is in her opinion?
Yes, Andriana and Carvel.
Thank you. Right, so it's an obligation for one party to pay money borrowed from another party. So the debtor is the person who borrows the money, and the creditor is the person who lends the money. And what does the Bible say about the borrower and the lender?
All we want the lender, we don't want no borrower.
All right, that's true. That's true. And it also says that the borrower is a slave to the lender, right? Somewhere down there in Ecclesiastes or Proverbs. But in essence, what we want to take away is the scripture that says that we are givers and not borrowers. That is the passage of scripture I want to focus on. Now, your title says good debt versus bad debt. and home ownership. You know, there's a pun on the word bad debt, right? But we'll get into that later. So good debt is just generally considered any debt that may help you to increase your net worth or generate future income. Anyone can tell me what they think this is? Any example of what good debt is?
Like if you have a credit card and you pay what you use and don't go over the premium, so it's up to date.
Okay, so you're managing your credit card well, and at the same time, it's helping you to increase your net worth by giving you what? Cashback rewards, travel points, discounts at certain merchants. So you're feeling the benefit financially, you're seeing it, and you're experiencing it tangibly. So yes, you're correct, Nelida. Thank you so much. Right? So it's a debt that helps to put you in a better position, and that is what we consider as good debt. It's kind of ironic, to say the least, that you're borrowing, but yet it's something good. But we'll just unpack that a little bit. So some of the examples of good debt include investing your money that you borrow in an asset to improve your overall financial picture. And that could be to invest in a business, it could be for educational pursuits, and it could be for real estate. Now, borrowing money to invest in a business, we believe that this is good debt because the aim of the business is to be successful, to make a profit, and to increase one's standard of living, or improve rather. No, it's kind of tricky because the lifespan of small business, a lot of small businesses do not survive past the first 3 to 5 years. So this in itself would require the investor, of course, to do an assessment of the market, to do their business plan, to do what is necessary to ensure that this idea that they're borrowing to fund will improve their overall financial picture. So, do you think borrowing to buy a motor vehicle to start a taxi business is good debt?
Yes, because you'd earn from that taxi business. And you probably can use what you earn to pay back, the loan and still have something in your pocket.
What are some of the things you need to consider before you decide to, okay, I'm gonna buy a taxi. I'm gonna borrow money to buy a taxi to put on the road. What are 3 things you would want to consider?
I think you'd have to consider the amount of money it would take for like licensing, like PPV and things like that. 2, if you have a driver that is, suitable, somebody that is responsible, who will take care of your property on the road. You don't want to drop it in a too much patrol and them something there. Another thing is also insurance. I think you'd have to take into consideration.
Right. So, Stephen, which scripture is she referencing when she says you have to assess the cost? Stephen, are you with us? Or anyone, Nelida, anyone?
The part of the scripture that talks about basically not putting all your eggs in one basket, but trying to remember.
There's a scripture in Ecclesiastes that says you should count the cost before you start building. That's not the exact words, but there's a scripture in the Bible that says, who is the man who starts to build something before they assess the cost? I'll find it before the presentation is finished. But yes, you're reading, man. That's good. All right. So educational pursuit. So obviously you won't see the immediate return from this because 1, you're borrowing to study over a period of time. And 2, of course, you would have to seek out job opportunities with this improved level of education that will remunerate efforts. So what that means is, for example, Nelida, you have a first degree and you're on the job, you're a bank teller with your first degree, and you're trying to get a promotion, you're doing what you need to do on the job, but the position you're seeking requires a master's degree. So you are now considering getting a loan to pursue your master's. Now, obviously, the promotion won't necessarily come right after you're finished or during the time. So it would take time for you to put that information out there, apply yourself before you reap the benefits of the increased educational purposes, right? And of course, real estate. Is real estate good debt or bad debt?
Good debt.
All
I
right,
would say it's a good
Shantana
debt.
has entered the chat. Tell us about it.
It's good debt because it's an it's an earning opportunity. You're gaining from it. So it depends on if you're buying real estate to live in it, of course you're not gaining from it. But if you're buying it for rental purposes, then you're gaining from it.
All right, so you're talking about rental income. Anyone else can opine how they think real estate is a good investment?
I think it's a good investment because, for example, if you own a home or you own a piece of land and you're trying to access another loan, say for something like that, or you're trying to do some program to go overseas and you have to have assets or you have to have ties, having a home is a good, it shows stability and it shows
Yes.
that you have assets depending on the type of business or whatever you're going to do.
So it improves your net worth in essence. So you're both correct. So
And
you
I
can
guess
earn income
also,
from it. Go ahead.
I guess also with home ownership, well, homes only appreciate over time. So, if you counter that, if you factor that in, then you'll be winning in the end.
Right, so capital appreciation. So we know in Jamaica, house prices go up drastically. All right, so on average, 10 to 15% per annum, and that is capital appreciation without you expanding, painting, trimming the grass. You don't have to do anything. The house just stays there and increases in value over time. So you're all correct. Thank you so much. All right. Now, bad debt. Somebody can tell me what bad debt is in accounting? This is why I said there's a pun on the word, because your topic of discussion this evening is good debt versus bad debt. But in essence, bad debt is something that accountants have to make provision for in the P&L, balance sheet, the financial statements of the business. So it's where a creditor must write off if a borrower defaults on a loan. But we're not focusing on that this afternoon. What we're focusing on is loans or lending facilities that will worsen your overall financial well-being, right? So some loans are good or debt, and some are not good, what we're calling bad debt. Now, what are some of the wrong reasons? I want to go back. What are some of the wrong reasons to borrow? Shantana, name one. Nalido?
Carnival.
All right. How appropriate, carnival season. Wonderful. Stephen? We have 10
The examples
participants
of
in the room.
bad debt
Right, bad reasons to borrow.
or batteries tomorrow.
Nalida says carnival. Nikolai, Shantana, Ebony, Adriana. Any feedback from you?
For me, like party loans to buy clothes, are like things are not necessarily important in the interim.
But clothes is important.
If you need to take a loan for buy clothes, you don't need the clothes.
Ebony had said something in the chat. What did she say? Going on a trip to buy devices to pay another loan. We're gonna unpack that, Andrea, now. And Stephen, where egg coming out the Bible? What does that mean?
When I was referring to don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. All right, so Andrea, remind me to unpack the borrowing to clear another loan. All right, so what are some of the reasons, wrong reasons to borrow? To finance a wedding. Do you think it's okay to borrow to finance a wedding?
Personally, no, because it's one day and then you have the rest of your life to live. After only eat and have fun, what happens?
You go home to pay a bill. How about birthday parties, baby shower, celebratory occasions? Not even if it's your first baby, first time getting married, you know, people tend to get overly excited.
Unless
I
it's an
want to
African
have big
wedding
bash.
and they're gonna throw money at you, no. Unless it's an
You're
African
like,
wedding and they're gonna
they
give you
can pay back the loan. Okay. And we know Jamaicans not doing that. Thank you,
No,
Nelly.
that's not our culture.
What about family vacations? You know, people borrow to go on vacation, right?
People do, and it's always something that I've thought about. I'm like, if you go on a vacation and you enjoy yourself, and then for the next 10 months to a year, you're paying back alone. Really, how fun is the vacation then? Because in my mind, I don't have to be paying for the fun I had 3 months ago or 4 months ago. It don't make no sense to me.
Yeah, but what about all of the endorphins that will be released when you're on that trip, having a great time with your friends and your family, you know? It's not worth it, in your opinion?
I don't think it's worth it. For me personally, I prefer to save towards a trip. Any little extra money, you put it aside for a vacation or a trip, and then I feel like you can really enjoy it at that time because when you come out, you don't have to worry about bills. You have the fun and the fun done, you just move on. If you take out a loan, mean the fun done, you still have to pay for the fun and when you not have fun right now.
All right, agreed. Electronic devices, somebody mentioned that in the chat, and instances where you cannot comfortably cover the monthly payments. These are some wrong reasons to borrow. And let me just unpack what my friend said earlier. Just go back. Andriana in the chat mentioned that it's not good to borrow to pay another loan. That is a little bit debatable based on my experience. Sometimes persons will make a rushed decision to access some cash for an emergency, or they make an uninformed decision and take out a high interest paying loan. So in instances where you take out an unsecured loan and they ask you to pay back 30% or 25%, if you now sit down, do an assessment, and you realize that, hey, Victoria Mutual is offering an unsecured loan for less than 20%, maybe I should refinance that loan so I can benefit from a lower monthly payment and have more cash in my pocket at the end of the month while I'm still servicing the same loan. When it's not good is in a situation where you're almost at the end. You're almost at the end of the life of the loan. So to refinance, it means that you're double dipping. So you have to repay more money to take out another loan, to process another loan, and all of the money that you'd have already spent, in essence, in my opinion, sometimes it would have been partially wasted. So it depends on the situation. In some instances, some persons are unable to breathe. Like they're in the middle of this loan, they're taking home $10,000 after you pay off all your debt. May as well try to get some refinancing in place so I can have more breathing room. All right, so in cases like that. All right. So when is it a good time to borrow? When is it a bad time to borrow? These are my opinion, by the way, and based on my experience in the industry. So obviously, you will have varying opinions and unique situations whereby the adverse happens. So when there's job uncertainty, that in my opinion is a bad time to borrow because you're not sure whether or not you'll be employed next month. And if you take on this loan obligation, how is it that you're going to be managing for the next 5 to 10 years? When there's a global crisis. Now, that in itself is debatable because a lot of persons profited tremendously when we had the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of that was possible because they were able to get loans, right? But there is the opposite of that when you're so uncertain as to what's going to be happening, the price of goods and services, employment opportunities, access to cash. So in those cases, that's when I'm saying it may not be a good time to borrow, depending on your personality and your resourcefulness. When you lack adequate savings, so in case of an emergency, it's not a good time to borrow. If it is that you have no emergency savings, but you're going to take on this loan, if something happens to yourself or your family in the middle of this loan, how are you going to be managing that emergency, right? If especially the monthly payment is hefty one. When your debt to income ratio exceeds 45%, and what this means is simply when the total of your loans is more than 45% of your total income month over month. So for example, you have a car loan, you have a mortgage, you have an unsecured loan, and it's amounting to more than 45% of your gross salary, then that's an indication that you should not take on any more loans. When the debt does not leverage you financially, and that's just what we spoke about a while ago in terms of borrowing to buy clothes. Was it Nikolai that said that? Yes. Somebody said to go to Carnival, and someone else said to borrow devices. When the debt will not improve your standard of living. So those are one and the same. And when you are uncertain how the premium will be serviced. So what that means is you may be qualified to get the loan, but you know, based on your true expenses, that listen, at the end of the month, I have to pay my daughter's school fee. I have to give my mother some money. I have this expense coming up. While I'm eligible to get this new BMW, I really don't know where the money is going to come from to pay the premium monthly. So that may not be a good time for you to get a loan. All right. Where are we? All right, so let's explore the concept of the credit card. Everybody on the call is a credit card holder?
No, ma'am.
No.
Not yet, or by choice?
By choice.
All right. So a credit card is a line of credit that you can use to make purchases, balance transfer, cash advance, etc. So it's the opposite of, well, not opposite, but it substitutes for cash, right? It's a secure means of traveling around with money, so you don't have to fear somebody coming, grabbing your bag and taking your cash from you. If, for example, you lose your card, you can always call to have it blocked, right? Until the matter is resolved. If someone goes online and there is theft or fraud, you can always have that investigated. If it's your debit card and there is fraud, it's a high probability that you may not be refunded if the bank is unable to prove, or the financial institution is unable to prove that this is indeed a fraudulent transaction. But on your credit card, that can be properly investigated and traced back to the culprit, and most instances, you can be refunded. The benefits of the card, some cards give you, well, for example, VM cards give you an attractive interest rate, one of the lowest rates on the market, which is 38%. And of course, you can benefit from 0 interest rate by ensuring that you pay off what you've used before the due date. There's a rewards program where you can redeem points. You get points on bonus use, points on the anniversary. And this, of course, includes travel points and cashback rewards. And from time to time, there are membership perks. For example, now, VM has a promotion going on where whenever you use your card for 20,000 or more, you enter to win a free trip to Punta Cana. And there's some other prizes as well, right? So those are some simple features and benefits of the card. Now, the credit card conundrum. Of course, the credit card is useful for making online purchases, making reservations, renting a motor vehicle, making emergency payments, and of course, more importantly, to establish your credit. If, for example, you're a recent graduate of university, you're in your first job, you would not necessarily have a credit score and you won't necessarily qualify for a mortgage or a bigger loan based on the fact that you haven't been working for a long period of time. But in getting a credit card, you can use that as a medium to help to build your credit history. So now, the question I'm asking is, do you think the credit card is good debt or bad debt? Based on what we just discussed.
Good debt
If
if
used
it's mixed
properly, yes.
Okay. All right. So some tips, as we said before, you aim to pay off the balance before the due date and you pay more than the minimum payment. So what I recommend to my clients is, if it is that you have a limit that exceeds your income, I would recommend that you have the limit reduced to match that, or ensure, if you're disciplined enough, ensure that you do not spend over that limit. That way, when you get your salary, you can just put it back on the card and use the card to manage your month-over-month expenses. And of course, you need to ensure you pay on time to avoid late fees. And that's easy. No longer do you have to mail a check to the bank and tell them to post it to credit card number XYZ. Or you don't necessarily have to leave your place of work to stand in the line. You can always make payments online. All right? Just some tips. Any questions on good debt before we go into home ownership? Good debt, bad debt?
There is a question. The question is whether or not student loan can be a bad debt. One, given the economy now, you know what persons are paying, and the uncertainty of landing a well-paying job, so to speak, right now in Jamaica. This question is coming off the fact that a lot of persons that we would have known who would have taken a student loan from SLB live to regret it, so to speak. It made them cry, bawl, and all of these things. So how, if it's how good of a good debt is it, or can it really be a bad debt in some
All right.
instances?
So that's a very good question. Now, SLB was designed to help students. And not most, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of the persons who do take student loan, it is because their parents won't necessarily have the cash or the means to access a loan to lend them to go to school. Student loan, in comparison to an unsecured loan, is a lower interest rate. So, for example, rather than say to the parent, "Mom, I don't want student loan. I know you don't have the money. Go and borrow some money from the bank." That's not necessarily a better option, because the bank is going to charge your parent double digits, while student loan is charging you a single digit. Now, when student loan becomes bad, it's in instances where you are not able to make the monthly payments comfortably, or you've neglected the monthly payments. I believe they give you a year before they start charging. And during that time, it is expected, I'm not certain, but during that time, it's expected that you'd be job hunting. Of course, not everybody picks up a job or lands a job within the year, but it is a good debt in the sense that it is helping you to pursue your educational studies. If you don't have the money to pay the school fee, then it means that you're going to forego studying. right? And on the other hand, it also comes at a lower rate than an unsecured loan, which a bank would offer for educational purposes. So student loan is designed for persons who are unable to pay their school fee or their parents are unable. And this becomes more evident when you're filling out the application form and it's asking you for a guarantor and you can't put your parents because they don't meet the requirements. So it's for situations like that. I myself took student loan and I cried when it was time to pay the student loan. And I called my parents individually and I cried to them and they say, you know, Diane, I can't help you. That's not what they call me, but whatever they call me, that's what they say. I can't help you. Call your mother, call your father. Most of them were like tag teaming and they're like, no, I can't help. But let me tell you, one of the things that helped me at that time was I was saving money that my parents who lived overseas sent for me. I would save some of that. And I said, Daddy, I have a proposal for you. Is it a situation where if I can come up with half of the money, can you match? And he conceded, and that's how I was able to pay off what I had owed. I also recommend that students, once you're in college or university and you can do the work and travel program, try to do that for the other years. Don't stay on student loan for the entire time. You know, get a job, apply for scholarships. A lot of organizations are offering scholarships. At one point, I had applied for scholarship as well, and I was successful with that. And I did the work and travel program. So that's why my student loan wasn't a huge sum. But of course, for each person, the situation differs. But there are strategies that students should use when they're in college so that they can start out not be at the back of the line, but maybe midway, not necessarily front, but maybe midway. Because a lot of us get a late start because of these things, student loan, parents not being in a financial position to help us how we need to be helped. So it's good when you get the financial information and make use of it. A lot of persons, if they had known, they'd have done the work and travel program, pay a school fee. And a lot of persons don't know about the scholarships that are being offered. So these are some things that we can utilize while we're studying. And also not only for full-time students, but for persons who are on the call who wish to pursue or further their education rather, look into your organization. Do they have grants? Do they offer educational assistance? These are some avenues you can use to further your education as well. So don't write it off and don't pressure yourself to think, oh, I have to come up with all this money. Lots of opportunities are out there. All right. So Maya Angelou says, the ache for home lives in all of us. It's a safe place to call where we can go as we are and not to be questioned. So in essence, what she's saying, it's a safe zone. It's a haven, somewhere you can be comfortable. Anybody agree with this statement? I do. So today we're going to delve into home ownership, which is a major achievement for anybody. I don't know about anybody on this call, but home ownership is a major milestone. Now, VM has basically broken this down into 3 steps. 1, save, search, secure. Saving includes having a concept of where it is that you want to live and putting away money towards this goal. And we recommend that you put up 10 to 15%. So you're not just going to be saving blindly. You're not going to be doing, oh, I can only save $1,000, I'm going to put that away towards home ownership. No, you have to plan and strategize. So if it is that you want to live in a gated community and the houses are being sold for 15 million, you have to say to yourself, okay, this is where I want to live. And 10% of that is 1.5 million. So in order to save 1.5 million in this time frame, I need to be doing this XYZ monthly. That is how you strategize around it. You also have to be very realistic because your first home, 1, is not your dream home. And 2, even though you want to achieve this goal in this time frame, can you reasonably do it in a shorter period or a longer period. You have to assess and decide which works best for you. Yes, Donette, houses are for that amount, but Phoenix has a development where the houses are being sold for 16 million. But a lot of persons don't want to live there for whatever reason. But it's an investment. It's not your dream home, but it's a starter home. Now, you're going to look around for the home you desire and consider all the factors to include affordability, location, security, proximity to work, school, and other facilities. Now, no longer are persons just sticking to Kingston because there are so many new roads being put in place. It's 45 minutes from Ocho Rios. It's 45 minutes from Mandeville and maybe 30 minutes from St. Thomas. So you have to explore and keep your options open. Now, in terms of secure, this means that you're going to secure the mortgage by ensuring that one, you have your deposit saved, and that you identify the home that you want and you're ready to take the next step. And by the way, home ownership, there's a key point, and that is savings. I'm going to expand on that a little bit more. Now, what do we mean by saving? It means that when you are ready to buy your house, you are going to need a deposit. While the financial institution will give you up to 95%, for example, it means that you have to have a vested interest, which is at least 5%. And what that means is if you don't have an asset to sell, you're going to need to give the vendor 5% to start the process. And in instances like that, this is where saving becomes important. It's never too early to start. Now, VM has something called an iSave for home. The iSave pays up to 6% per annum, depending on the amount. You can start with as low as 5,000 Jamaican dollars and earn an attractive interest rate. The benefit of this is that it inculcates a habit of saving. Also, added to that, it's not something you can easily break. So the money will be going directly to a fixed deposit that you cannot break unless you get up from your desk at work or you leave your house, drive to the bank, stand in the line, and let them know you want to break your iSave. So it's not something you can access with your debit card. So it disciplines you and enforces you to continue saving towards this goal, right? So it's a good facility and it offers an attractive interest rate. It can be serviced through salary deduction as well, which is easy and convenient, or online transfer. These are some of the rates that we offer as per the different tiers. All right, so now we're going to go into securing the mortgage. And what that means is once you've saved up enough money, well, I want to take that back. When you're ready to secure the mortgage, you're going to go visit the branch to say, I'm now ready, and they will now let you know, take these documents as outlined on the slide, payslips, job letter, ID, credit report, and they'll do an assessment, look at your income, your expense, credit history, earning potential, employability, work experience, everything will be assessed, and they'll say, okay, Stephen, based on your profile, the financial institution will be comfortable in lending you 40 million or 20 million. Now, why I wanted to retract the part that I said once you have your savings is because we're people of faith, and some people have bigger faith than some. And I'm saying that to say, not because you don't have the full 10% or 5% saved doesn't mean if an opportunity comes up, you shouldn't step out and grab it. Because we're different people, right? We operate on a different economy. So what that means is an opportunity comes up, you don't have all the money, but you're stepping in faith. Don't say, okay, I don't see all of the money, so I'm not going to do this. Let me share my own story with you. When I was going to buy my house, I didn't make that decision of my own. I was actually looking for somewhere to rent because I was frustrated with where I was living at the time. And my girlfriend at the time was buying her house and she was like, hey, maybe you should buy a house too. And I'm like, okay, no. I don't have a rich daddy like you or uncle. I don't have any money. I have $5 in my savings account. No. So I was looking for somewhere to rent and I wanted to move urgently. I was in the Gleaner looking under the rental section, and what do you know? I saw a house in the community I was living right around the corner, and it was for sale under the rental section. I was like, this gotta be a joke. So I called them and I said, hey, can I come and look at the place? I'm right around the corner. They said, sure, come at 4:30. I was like, okay, great. I came, I looked at the house and I immediately fell in love with it. It was so cozy and nice. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna move towards this thing. And the rest of it is nothing short of a miracle. I must say, the December before that, I'd bought some stocks. I'd borrowed some money to buy some stocks. I tried to borrow $1 million to buy stocks, but I was not successful in getting the $1 million because of my debt service ratio at the time. So they only gave me $250,000. Now I bought the stocks for $2 in December. And by January, around about the time when I saw the house, can you tell me, Stephen, what the stock value was, or stock price per stock?
$5.
$4, yes. And that was in a little over 30 days. So guys, I'm telling you, this whole thing can work. And I'm not saying it's anything I did. Of course, I didn't know that that opportunity would come up. I didn't know that the stock price would double in 30 days. I had $5 in my savings account. No, that's another story. That was wrong. But I'm just sharing my own experience with you to let you know, as people of faith, as kingdom citizens, we can work it. It can work if we work it. All right. And of course, you guys know the advantages of renting or the lack thereof, and the pros of buying. So while renting offers you the mobility to move around and you have less responsibility, so in some cases you don't even have to cut the lawn, and there's no 5% deposit to come up with. It doesn't give you that sense of security, especially when the landlord is going to call you to say, I need my place. I'm moving back home. I'm coming back from overseas and I want to live in Jamaica. Or you have a bad neighbor, you have dogs, you have gunshot or fire, them sort of things there. Whatever the reason is, buying is always the key to a sense of security, the pride of home ownership that comes with that, and of course the economical gain. I need to take out that word potential economic gain and say economic gain. And guys, I can close this session by saying that the property I had miraculously gotten has now doubled in value. So I have 100% equity in the property, a little over 100% equity in the property. And that, my friend, is good debt. So with the right tools, focus and commitment, VM as your expert financial partner, we can help you to achieve your financial objectives. Thank you so much. You have been kind. I now open the floor for questions and answers, or further questions and answers. Oh, Danette said, same thing, Elizabeth Highway. You're absolutely right about that.
One question. What are your thoughts or your suggestion or the expertise on home improvement loans or taking out a second mortgage on a home?
All right, so those are, I'm going to say that in essence, you want to get a loan to improve your property?
Let us talk about taking out a well, yes, yes,
A home
yes.
equity loan, right? So in essence, those are pretty accessible. You can speak, if there's a loan on the property, you can speak to the financial institution that extended the loan. If there's no loan on the property, you will need to go to a financial institution of your choice. They will do an assessment to let you know, Shantana, this is the amount we can lend you based on your profile. And they'll further ask of you to provide a current valuation report and surveyor's ID report to assess the collateral, which is the house, to assess the current value and the value after renovations or home improvement, if that is what you're doing. And they want to examine the borders, they want to ensure that the structure is safe and that it's in good condition, that sort of thing. And added to that, you can get a home equity loan to further your education, improve the existing house, start a business, buy a car, whatever it is that you want to do. You can, once it's legal, you can tap into a home equity loan for that purpose. But of course, I want to caution by saying you don't want to take out a second mortgage for something that's frivolous or something that will not improve or leverage you financially, because this is another loan against the property and you want to be careful how you use that equity.
Oh, and I can come to VM and have a conversation, and then you guys can guide me, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question that we have is home ownership always better than renting or leasing?
Well, based on the information I shared and based on my experience, based on my opinion, it is 100% better, because there's always that what if or when. Because if you are consistently renting and leasing and one of those scenarios pop up when you're close to retirement, what do you do? In addition to that, retirement means you're no longer earning that fancy money that you used to make when you were younger, right? You're actually moving away now from the workforce into enjoying yourself, doing consultation, whatever it is, but your earning potential peaks at 65, and after that it trends down. Now, if at all you are lucky to live to 100, what is the source of income that's going to be paying that rent? If, however, you're a homeowner, it is expected that by the time you retire, you'd have paid off that debt or before. So you won't have to be thinking about that at retirement. In addition, it is a tool used to create generational wealth. And a lot of us, as the Black race, we tend to want to maximize all that we can during our lifetime. We don't necessarily think about the next generation, if I should be fair. You know, the whites and some other races, they think about life insurance. When you die, your child can inherit something. And that is why we have the burden of being late starters. We have student loan to think about. We're back of the line when it concerns home ownership, because no one paved the way. It's like we have to consistently be starting over. So it helps with generational wealth and it helps with peace of mind, and there's a security before retirement. So yes, in my opinion, it's always the best move. And why be a tenant when you can be a landlord?
Amen, amen, amen. I agree. Another question we have is, what is the best age do you think persons should start looking into home ownership? As in, what do you think if, for example, do you think like by 25, 24, you should be looking? Maybe you won't have the money at that time, but it should be in your mind. You should be looking, making certain preparations. At what age do you recommend persons should be actively, seeking out home ownership opportunities?
All right, that is also an excellent question. I wouldn't put it at an age, for example, because there are certain persons who are homeowners by the time they are 25. What I would say, this is not taught in schools. And if your parents are not financially savvy and they don't share the information with you and you're not seeking it out, then when you're in college, when you're 21, these are not some of the things people are generally thinking about. You're not even thinking about retirement, in which that's the first thing you should think about when you start working, preparing for retirement. And the second thing, in my opinion, should be home ownership. But a lot of us, what do we think about firstly? Buying
A
a
car.
car. Yeah, a depreciating asset. It's always a car. So there is no age limit per se, because I have seen during my years where persons who are 25 or younger who have become homeowners. That's a small percentage of persons, but I do agree and recommend that person should definitely start thinking about home ownership right on the cusp of graduating, you're into your first job. But ultimately, the reality is most of us were thinking about student loan and getting that car. So there's no right or wrong time per se. It is important to think about, and I definitely say by the time you're 30, you should be aggressively pursuing this thing. Okay, so Stephen, it's Luke that says, for which of you intending to build a tower, sit it not down first and count it the cost, whether you have sufficient to finish it. It's Luke 14. So that's the scripture I was referencing when Donnet shared about assessing the cost. Right.
Amen.
I have a personal question, and I don't know if I can really go into it, but I'm realizing that no, there are different ways to get towards home ownership. I know that you can get a loan to buy a piece of land and then get the rest like to build or things like that. I even have a case where one of my friends, she hasn't found the property that she wants to purchase as yet, but she was able to process her loan. So like she have her loan and she have pay back money, but she not find the proper. I don't even know how that works.
That's
But
not
do
a
you,
mortgage.
huh?
That's not a mortgage though.
Um, but do you think that in like this current scale, it would be wise for persons to look into buying land and building on that land versus um buying a house maybe the Kingston and St. Andrew area or even Manchester because with the highway it's easier to travel. So would it be best to go to somewhere maybe like a St. Elizabeth and buy a piece of land and build and just wait until the highway wait until civilization reach, so to speak? What do you think?
All right. So you can build in rural areas if you're working from home because you have to come to work. Mandeville, it's good. Well, down there is pricey. You'd be so surprised. But as I say, if you're working remotely and if your body can manage the commute, it is 45 minutes, but it's every day. It's like 80 miles every day. So if you can manage it, fine. In terms of construction, buying land and building, I must say it is cheaper. You can build to your specification. However, it is a longer process and it's more tedious and it's more stressful. So if you're not prepared to take that on, in the sense that the bank won't give you all of the money to build, they will say to you, we're going to give you this. Once you've exhausted these funds, we're going to do an assessment and we'll give you some more and we'll come back again and so on and so forth until it's finished. No. while building is a little bit cheaper, ultimately the opportunity cost, sometimes you can't put a price on your peace of mind because you're dealing with unscrupulous workmen in a lot of cases. So if you don't have that support or that mental toughness, it's not for you. It's not for the weak, trust me. But it's a good idea, it's a good concept, and it can work. You get what you want, in a sense.
Awesome. That is so true. I agree with you. I feel like personally for me, um, and this is going to be so weird, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I lean more towards building versus buying because I'm like, if this house has been here for 30 years, somebody must be dead in here at one point during the time. And I'm not a fan. Just the thought of it creeps me out. And so I'm definitely, as a person, I gear more towards building it being specifically what I want it to be. And so I think for a person like me, I'd be willing to deal with the people and meeting me have the mindset like I can toe to toe with the best of them. So I'd be willing to I'd be willing to take on that mental stress with
Okay.
knowing that at the end I'd get what I want.
Okay. To each his own.
Yeah. Any more questions from the chat?
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if you've been working for, like, say, 5 years, but you've never been in debt, the likelihood of being able to get a mortgage would be low?
No, so there's no perfect profile. So in your case, you've never had a credit facility,
No,
so you have no credit score.
no.
Okay. So it's not that the financial institution will not be inclined to lend to you. It's just that we now have to make a case to tell them why they need to lend to you. So it's always, always best to have a credit score, whether they use a credit card to build a score. And by the way, NWC reports to the credit bureau, Courts reports to the credit bureau, Singer reports to the credit bureau, and student loan reports to the credit bureau. So if you've ever had any of these facilities, then you should have a credit score, whether high or low. But in a case where you don't, we can always make a case for an applicant like that to say, okay, even though there is no credit score, this is his first facility, give a background on the client, share what their net worth is, and try to put mitigants in place to suggest to the adjudicator that this is a good facility. And the importance of the credit report is to paint a picture of you as an individual, how you manage debt. And that is why it's good to have a credit score, because we can see that, listen, this is a responsible person, they pay on time, etc., etc. But if there is nothing to give us that sort of information, then we just have to build a case for someone like that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't even familiar with NWC, so I guess I would have that part because, pay watermelon thing, but repeat the places. You said NWC, courts, where else?
Student Loan Bureau. Just a few of the ones that you would not think report to the bureau. NWC, Court, Singer, yeah, that's it. And all the financial institutions. And Student Loan Bureau, sorry.
There is one question doubling back to the credit card. Is it possible for someone to use their credit card to manage their debt, so to speak?
No, because what you're asking is if someone can use their credit card to pay their monthly obligations.
In a sense. And then, like in my mind, when you said that you keep the premium at your income level, I'm thinking that suppose you have a person who they spend frivolously, and they're like, oh, I have a 200,000 limit on my credit card. So when I get paid, I'm able to pay back that 200,000. Yeah, I know you get little points and little cash back and things like that. But if it's like a cycle where you're you just owe people the whole like 200,000 done and you just live to basically pay it back to use the credit card again, pay it back to use the credit card again. Do you think that's a bad practice? In my mind, yes, because suppose something happen and then you can't pay it and then interest. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
agree with you. So for you use the word frivolous, yeah, it's not for those persons. So when I say you use it month over month, it's for living expenses. You buy your gas, your groceries, you pay your utilities, that sort of thing. But for persons who like to just shop, no. I have another story on that, but I'll hold that back for another presentation. I mean, every lesson that you can learn financially, I learned them by experience. And that is why I can stand before some audiences to share my own experience. Sad, but I learned the hard way in some instances. And I studied finance in school. The irony.
all right. And recently someone at our last session where we did investing, the young lady was saying that she knows the stuff, but yet still when a particular situation happened, she would have sold when she knows that she should have held on. And I'm like, that's just a part of life. You might know the right thing, so to speak, but sometimes it's our human nature causes us to do something different, or just to test the waters.
That is true.
Right. So this time, I would love to thank you, Diane, for coming today and presenting to us. I do know that for us here on Zoom and for the persons on YouTube, it has been very informative. I know that we can leave here knowing what type of debt we really want to take onto ourselves. We leave here thinking about home ownership, how we can go about that, how we can just navigate the world and some people, how we can build kingdom wealth and all of these lovely, lovely things. Is there anything that you'd like to say, like just one thing that is super important that you'd like to share with everyone here?
Two things. Thank you. So I just want to close by saying thank you again for having me and thank you for being so attentive. I failed to mention the requirements to do business with VM. It's pretty simple and it's right across the board. It's your government ID and TRN. So your driver's license would cover that. You will also need your proof of address, which is a utility bill or bank statement. And you need a proof of income, which is the last pay slip. Right? So it's four things. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Come in, talk to a representative about what you want to do, present those documents, and they can onboard you on the spot. Now, the second thing I want to share is that home ownership can seem overwhelming and like an unsurmountable hill or mountain. But together you can do great things, whether it's with your spouse or a trusted family member or friend or group. Once you have your documents in black and white to cover yourself, you can come together and achieve great things. I've seen educated professionals who came together and they bought a spot of land up in the hills and they split the land and they all build their individual houses on them. And that is a way that they create kingdom wealth. So if you do have trusted persons who you can put pen to paper to say, okay, this is to protect my interest, this is to protect your interest, then you can achieve great things. You can fast forward by partnership or through partnership. And partnership with your spouse, again, I want to reiterate, with a trusted family or friend, or with a child. A lot of persons try to get this house on their own. For years, they think about, how can I do this on my own? How can I do this on my own? How do you think the Chinese people are so prosperous? They don't walk alone or in silos. They walk in groups. They work in groups. we would benefit from emulating some of their practices. That is what I want to end with today, to let you know that one can chase 1,000, but two of you can put 10,000 to flight. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love that. I do love that. I really appreciate you taking the time out to share with us. And I know that the persons in the chat, the persons on the Zoom, on YouTube, they appreciate it as well. A big thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much.
Um, Everyone else, I do want to thank you for coming out, for listening. If you're watching this after, you can still comment in the YouTube. And we're getting good knowledge, we're learning good stuff. I just want to encourage us and encourage us one to make a mental note of these things, write them down. So when we're ready to move, we're moving with the correct information. And I want us to remind us of part 4 of the financial fitness series, retirement, which we'll be doing next week. When Dan was talking, she said that one of the things that we should be focusing on as soon as we graduate is retirement. What our plan for retirement? What are we going to do in our old age? We're not going to be like some grandparents that say, the children is the retirement plan. We're putting plans in place. We're putting things into place to ensure that our quality of life is the same right up until we get to meet the good Lord up in the sky and all of these lovely things. So a big thank you for coming out. A big thank you for sharing. A big thank you for participating. And I do hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Bye, everyone.
Bye.